Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and First Lady of the United States, Donald J. Trump and Melania Trump.
So just a goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. So have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We quiet ourselves and ground ourselves in the faithful love of God and the love that we
We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew. That even as we hurt, we hoped. That even as we tired, we tried. That we'll forever be tied together, victorious. Not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division.
I, Kamala Davy Harris, do solemnly swear.
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear.
That I will support and defend the Constitution.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
Office of President of the United States.
So help me God.
We face an attack on our democracy and on truth. A raging virus, growing inequity, the sting of systemic racism, a climate in crisis, America's role in the world. Any one of these would be enough to challenge us in profound ways. But the fact is, we face them all at once. I promise you, we will be judged, you and I, by how we resolve these cascading crises of our era. Will we meet our obligations and pass along a new and better world to our children? I believe we must. I'm sure you do as well. I believe we will.
Hi, guys. Okay, my name is Mark B. Lee. As you guys know, I am over this way, proud American, as you can see. This is probably one of the happiest times in my life. Our friend Willow here is a Canadian, so she's chiming in from Canada. Thank you, Willow. This is probably one of the second proudest time of my voting life, shall I say. My first, of course, was with the inauguration of Barack Obama. And then, of course, secondly is the defeat of Donald Trump. And this is how I preface it. And I'm going to say a few words before we bring our panelists up, because we all have a lot to say. But we'll try to keep our comments as brief as possible. It is a happy day for all of us, mainly because we have endured I'm going to say torture for the last 4 years. Now, in the entire time this gentleman was occupying the office of the president, I have never called him by his oh boy, I'm a loss of words. I've never called him by his title. That's what I'm looking for. And I rarely even addressed him by his full given name. That was for 4 years. You've never heard me say those words. You never heard me post a negative thing about him on Facebook. Only until recently have I told people exactly how I felt about this gentleman. And I think a lot of people were saying this over the 4 years. I have a lot of vocal friends, and even though I have read their post online, I still basically kept my cool, and I did not award him the dignity of the office at all. I just basically made like he was never there. So, with the understanding that this gentleman has left us voluntarily, thank goodness, because I envisioned that he would have been dragged out of office, literally dragged out of the building. I guess we can say there's a sigh of relief, because many of us probably feel that regardless of what kind of job this guy does, good or definitely never going to be bad, but not so good, not lead up to a lot of expectations that a lot of people are literally expecting of him. I am just happy to the 9th degree, 10th degree, 11th degree, infinity, and beyond, that these two are occupying the office of president and vice president. I'm going to bring up our two panelists, two fantastic friends of mine, who I'm pretty sure they all have similar opinions. This is not a debate show. It's a reality show. And based on the information that we have over the last 4 years, I think there's a lot that we can say via proof of those occurrences, those situations, those days over the last 4 years, that we don't have to instill debate. Because unlike the individual that stepped out of office and who wanted to see himself remain in office, the proof is in the pudding. There's enough proof out there to say what we are obliged to say during this broadcast. But, you know, it's not going to be a debate. Let me bring up my first buddy boy, Jim Yeager, longtime friend, a big Star Trek fan, as you can see, up there in Vermont. No, you're not in Vermont. You're in Albany. No, you're not in Albany. You're in. Whoops.
I was in Albany.
Yeah, it is Albany, right? Yeah, stupid me. And my other good friend here, who is the head.
Hello.
Did you shave?
I did.
You look legal.
I actually had I was under my beard for some reason was starting to break out. So I had every once in a while I have to take it off and clean my face really good and clean out my pores, and then I can put it back. But yeah, I was going for younger.
Yeah. Hey, Jim.
It didn't work.
Jim, do you have? Hold on, Jim. Do you have a set of ear headphones you can put on?
Well, actually, I do, but my cat chewed them in half.
All right. Well, you're gonna sound like you're in a cave or a tunnel, and also I hear my voice coming through your microphone. So that's why we always ask people to put on headphones if they can, so that we don't have any reverb. And reverb is what we have. So, okay, I'm going to ask you guys a series of questions, and I want some brief answers, okay? Brief, please. And so we can get on with the rest of the questions. And I guess I'll go on with, while Jim is getting set up, and I'm going to mute Jim. I'll go ahead and ask you, Garrett. In terms of today's ceremony, and I'm starting forward, or in the present, and I'll go backwards in the past. How did you feel about today's ceremonies?
This is, oh boy, I don't even know when to start. I don't even know when to start counting. I think Bill Clinton is when I would start counting. I loved watching Inauguration Day every year since Bill Clinton. Today was absolutely remarkable. It was a celebration of the fact that we can still do this even amidst the pandemic. And we can do it with style and with grace. And I've always enjoyed Inauguration Day, and today it just felt extra special, and for a lot of reasons, many of which you enumerated at the top of the show. It really was a special Inauguration Day. My favorite part of this inauguration, by the way, was the young poet laureate who delivered remarks that were absolutely brilliant. And I know, Mark and I often talk online about this wonderful millennial generation and their talents and lack thereof some days. But I will tell you, this young lady today gave me more hope for our future and more hope for the wit and witticisms of our young people than I think I've had in a very long time. She reminded me what youth is all about and that energy. So that was one of my favorite parts today. And I love Inauguration Day. It's just a wonderful day. Seeing the flags lining the mall, knowing the millions of people that would be there if they could around town, and that hundreds of thousands that would be there on the mall. And knowing that we could do this with class and with grace, even amidst these hard times. Again, many of which are not a surprise, but there she is. What a wonderful young lady. What a brilliant mind. And an absolute joy to listen to. Her words were powerful. They were timely. And there's just, I really did enjoy that. I enjoyed listening to her a great deal. And and I don't know about you, Mark, but she did show me that not all of the millennials fit into that category that we like to put them in some days. This one here is a very special young lady with a bright future, I hope.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. And as much as I've bashed millennials, in the past, I'm still standing by it. It was something so refreshing. But it's not the first level of intelligence I've seen from young people, especially when they're put in this position. So I was not surprised. I was definitely impressed. I was proud. I was gobsmacked, but I was not, shall I say, well, actually, gobsmacked is being shocked and surprised, but I wasn't surprised. I knew that when they chose this young lady, and she's 22 years old, when we chose this young lady, I knew that she's definitely going to deliver something very, very important. We have a lot of people online with us right now. I really appreciate you guys speaking in. I think Jim may need to turn his speakers off or down. Okay, he's probably fine now. I unmuted him, but say something.
Oh, Sage just reminded me to remind the world of our young poet laureate's name. It's Amanda Gorman is our young lady, and Sage reminded me to if you guys haven't checked her out, she is on social media and places like that, and she's an incredibly intelligent, well-written, and well-read young lady. So please check her out. She is a national poet laureate.
Yeah, my secret trick in a lot of this is someone like this. I don't run immediately to their social media because I know everybody else is on it. My intention is to leave a compliment, and I like to do it when I think everybody else is done. That way, she'll see mine last. Hey, Jim, tell me, Jim, your turn, buddy. What did you see? What did you like? Tell me a little bit of what you saw today.
Well, first of all, can you hear me?
Yes. You sound fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I got these ancient headset on that I borrowed from my daughter, so hopefully it works.
Yeah, well,
and you look fantastic. Groovy too.
Well, I'm the ultimate and cool.
Yeah. So answer my question. Tell me what it is you saw today that you admired and that you enjoyed.
Well, the first thing that I really enjoyed and felt proud of was, well, first of all, Miss Gorman was phenomenal. Her poem was, there she is. Her poem just shook me right to the core. I mean, she was spot on, and I was very, very impressed with her. They couldn't have picked a better person, particularly at this time in our country's history, to say the kind of things that she said. I was very inspired and uplifted by her words. She was simply incredible. I can't say enough about her. She was that good. But when Joe Biden came up and talked, one of the things, I vote in every election. I've never missed an election ever. I think voting is the most important thing that we as Americans have to do. We should always exercise our right, whether your person wins or loses, doesn't matter. You have to vote. If you don't vote, you don't have a right to bitch later. So I always vote every time. I don't always get involved in politics because once I cast my vote, my voice has been spoken and I'm done. However, I learned a lesson with the Trump era. That's not absolutely true, because if we vote and then just stand back and say nothing and do nothing and allow a tyrant like that and his cronies to roll over the Constitution and roll over America, then we failed in our duty. So, when Biden got up there today and gave his speech, I didn't hear things like the bigliest, bestliest. I didn't hear things like those Republicans, it's all their fault. I didn't hear things like, I didn't hear name calling. I didn't hear attacks. I didn't hear negativity. All I heard was a positive, unifying voice about America. And the part when he said that I'm the president of all Americans, even those that didn't vote for me, that rung very loud in my head, because I felt from day one that Donald Trump, the name that shall not be spoken, never represented me, never cared about me, and didn't really, want anything to do with me, because he insulted me every time he talked and tweeted.
Well, hold on.
So I was very impressed with everything I saw.
Okay, there you go. I want you guys to stick to the question, because once you segue into something else, it might be answers to questions I haven't asked you yet. So just pay attention. I'm the judge. You're the juror. Okay, so I'm gonna say foul. What does Perry Mason always says to the objection? Yeah, something like that. So anyway, so great, fantastic. Now, Garrett, is it safe to ask your political affiliation?
Absolutely. I have been a registered Republican for many, many years. I was a professional Republican campaign consultant for many, many years. So I'm not at all ashamed of my party affiliation. I am embarrassed by my party's decision-making abilities of late, but I'm not at all embarrassed by my affiliations or my beliefs.
You shouldn't be, as you should not be, and no one should. We're not going to bash Republicans, because I have a lot of Republican friends. I dated almost married a Republican, and it's not.
The way you just did that, Mark, I don't want to make too much light, but the way you just did that was really smooth. I had the feeling, and I apologize to some of my former colleagues, but I feel like Republican, we just became the new black guy on the block. Like Mark has a Republican friend, so it's okay.
Exactly, and it's really right, because that's usually the terminology that comes into play. It's like, well, I got black friends too. Well, I got Republican friends too. Well, I have Republican friends my entire life, and the point that I was going to get to after that was, this is not about Republicans in terms of the followers and as opposed to the people that voted for Trump. This is a new animal that has been created, and something that is as much of a threat to me as the Ku Klux Klan was to my people. As for the people overall, excuse me, I burped because I'm eating dinner too. The people who actually voted for Trump, they voted for Trump for a reason, which brings me to my next question. And that question is basically, if you're smart enough and you follow politics back in 2016, okay, and you knew exactly the battle cries you were listening to, I'll go to you first, Jim. What is it that you think made these Republicans, or people in general, because some Democrats voted for Trump as well, what is it that you think these folks, these voters for Trump, heard that attracted them so much? And Jim, I'll go with you first.
I understand why they voted for Trump, because I have a lot of friends that did. And I think they just felt left behind and they wanted something different. They were tired of the same old politics as usual. And along came somebody that was not from the political party. He was outside. And they felt that somebody from outside is the best way to clean up, to drain the swamp from the inside. So that's what drew them to him. And I got to admit, I felt the same way. I don't remember when. I don't want to date myself, but I voted for Ross Perot.
Oh, good
because
God
I felt the same way
Come
way
on,
back
man.
when.
What's
Yeah,
wrong with
I
you?
did. I did.
Hey, look, you voted for him because he basically thought he could put a chicken in every pot. Ha ha. See what I did there, Garrett? See what I
So
did like that? Okay.
I can understand why people voted for him, because they felt like they were lost and they weren't represented and they needed a change. So they voted for somebody different.
Okay. Garrett, I'll go to you, my friend. What was the attraction?
Well, I think what attracted a lot of people, in software they have it in software development they have a term. They call a product that never really materializes. They call it vaporware.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you could imagine the American people, and especially some, rural and people who feel disaffected already, they're on Windows, and it keeps frustrating them. It keeps giving them the blue screen of death. Or they have a new Mac and they can't figure out how to use it. And along comes this guy and he says, I got an operating system that'll work so much better for you. And he just talks about it, but it never materializes. There's no substance to what he says. He just talks a really good game. Probably this last president was probably, bar none, probably would be the best used car salesman in the world, because there was no substance, but it was all talk. And he was describing this new operating system that was going to change your life, life-changing, life-affirming. You wouldn't be forgotten anymore. You wouldn't be left out anymore. And, so much of this country, was being included. And, Mark and you and I have talked about this so many times. We're from a generation of people being raised to be inclusive, to fight the generations behind us and their bigotry and their hatred and we were raised differently, and we were raised to try to be inclusive. But in that inclusivity, there will always be someone who feels like they're being left behind. And in this case, we could see who it was. It was the angry people. It was the hatred-filled people. They were feeling disaffected. They were feeling left behind. And they saw in this person an opportunity to be heard. Maybe not heard for their better ideas, maybe not heard for their better angels, maybe just heard in general. It was vaporware, though. It didn't exist. It didn't make anybody's life any better. But there's deep down in every single American, no matter who you are, you have this inherent desire to do better than those before you, to just go further, go farther, go faster. And he came along and he sold a bill of goods that he would get you there faster. He would get you further. He would do more for you. And we kept hearing these things. It was hyperbole. For those of us who have been in politics a long time, we could smell hyperbole, because hyperbole with no details is just vaporware.
Right.
But other people didn't see that, and they showed up in droves. And 75 million of them, by the way, showed up this last time too. They're not. These people are not delusional. They're not crazy. They're not. These are people who want a better life. They saw something in his rhetoric, not in his actions, in his rhetoric, that they could put themselves behind.
And you're absolutely right. He was. I have to be in my job. Have to be a salesman as well. I have to literally convince the client that I can design you a fantastic house. I know how you're thinking. I know how you live based on what you told me. I'm the guy for the job. And Trump basically did the same thing. But there's two sides to this. There's a split down the middle. And that is during the 2016 campaign, the 2015 campaign, or whatever, when he sold this bill of goods to those that would listen to him, what I heard a lot of was basically, I'm going to throw the immigrants out. No one's ever going to take your job again. Come with me. We're fine. China, we're going to teach them a lesson. And all I see in the back of my head is people going, yeah, that's what we want. Yeah, that's what we want. And then the other flip side of this was the re-election process, where 75 million did come out and basically supported this guy. And this is what confused the living hell out of me. I'm not ashamed to say there were some things that Trump was doing that I agreed with. And I'm like, yes, go after China. Yes, bring America back to producing products for Americans. Yada, yada, yada. And I saw that a lot in what he was trying to sell. But I also saw the underlayment of all of this, like, well, this ain't going to happen. He's not the guy that can make it happen. This is why we have a Congress. This is why we have a House and a Senate. You have to run it past them. they have to agree that you're making some, level of sense. And the fact that the Republicans, okay, control the Senate at that point, there's a very, very good chance that he could get a lot of this through, but he ain't getting it through the House. He'll get it through the Senate, but he's not getting it through the House. So a lot of people who were saying, yes, our Messiah has come, yeah, yes, didn't really think or know intelligently of how the wheels turn in government. Okay.
Well, and Mark, that's an awesome point for our viewers, because you hear this, and I will say, my side of the aisle, and myself personally, I'm just as guilty of this as anybody else. There are days when all the trains are running on time. Everything is working the way it's supposed to. Everything is going well. And so what's it come down to then? For a lot of people, it comes down to dollars and cents. And so you hear people say the words, what we need is a business person who can make this happen. And one of the things that as Americans, we have to learn to understand is that politics is not a business. There's no profit margin. Yes. Governance is not about making more. Government is about making, equity. And to do that, it takes more than a business person. It takes a statesman. And I think, you asked earlier, what was the greatest part about today? The greatest part about today was I was bored. I love being bored. Bored is the new exciting in America. I was bored because I was listening to a statesman, not a salesman. And so you might be really good in the boardroom, but that's not going to make you good in a government committee chamber. It's not going to make you good in the White House.
And that's what I like. I am looking forward to a man of action because, I was turning Trump off left and right back in the day anytime he was on TV, I turn it off, because it's not anything that I haven't heard, which is basically the same of all politicians, which we as Americans have heard since, the beginning of time. It's like, oh, here comes a politician promising us this and promising us that, yada, yada, yada. But this was the first politician in terms of Trump who became a politician who sold you, okay, and delivered nothing, basically nothing. And I want to read off something to you guys. And Jim, I'm going to get to you in a minute. But in terms of selling what you're trying to sell, okay, this is basically, and I'm reading this from, what am I reading? Oh, USA Today. Okay, and it's basically, let's see, this is basically what Biden did on his first few hours. You can't say his day because he wasn't in office for an entire day. But he sitting in the Oval Office, he signed an order requiring masks and social distancing on federal property, which is common sense to me, followed by an order to provide support to unserved communities. As part of the third order he signed, Biden rejoined the Paris Agreement on climate change, a treaty the United States formally exited in November after Trump withdrew in 2017. Biden signed 15 executive orders and 2 other directives Wednesday, and several more will come over the next 10 days. The first 3 were signed on camera from the Oval Office. Biden has ended construction of Trump's signature wall on the U.S.-Mexican border, which Mexico was supposed to be paying for, by proclaiming the immediate termination of the national emergency declaration Trump used to fund it. He also rejoined the World Health Organization, which Trump abandoned in July. Biden also took executive action to reverse Trump's ban on travel from predominantly Muslim countries. All of this and more, which I'm not going to go through it all, was basically what this man did, okay, stepping off the podium from the Capitol. Okay, he went straight to work. He knew he had a ball tonight. There's a star-studded show that I don't know if it's kicked off yet, but I'm watching CNN as we speak. That kicks off tonight, and he wasn't concerned about putting on a tux or Jill being dressed up in a nice gown and let's go dance in front of the cameras. And speaking of in the camera, I'm sure he's never going to walk up to a church with a Bible in his hand, upside down, by the way, and basically say, "This is me." Okay, he went to work immediately. So already I admire this guy. I don't expect to be in admiration of him for 4 years. I really don't. I think that's going to be impossible for me to do. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to make things I disagree with. But my God, this is a worker. And even though he's been in government for 50 years, this is what 50 years of government does to you. It makes you aware. It knows how to work the system. And it puts you into action. Jim, talk.
Well, first of all, I think a lot of people don't understand how government works. I've been a government worker for 17 years, and I can tell you, I've had a lot of bosses come in and try to reinvent the wheel, and you can't run a government like you run a business. Your boss can come in and say, Mark, we're going to buy our Xerox paper from this place. We're going to get our pens from this place, and do it. But when you work in government, it's not that easy. There's a whole system, there's a whole machine that has to work, and it doesn't work like a regular business does. And you need somebody that understands that, and somebody that knows how to work that machine. And it's not a business. So that's the first thing. And as far as Biden goes and what he's done already, he's been around. He was there with Obama, and he knows the ins and the outs. He knows where the bodies are hidden. He knows where the skeletons are.
Yes.
And I genuinely think he's going to try to do the best for America.
Yes.
I really do. And I do agree, no politician is going to do everything you want. He's going to do things you don't agree with. But in the end, I'm not going to be embarrassed by him. And that's important to me because, like you, Mark, I have a lot of friends because of my Trek Talking podcast from all around the globe. I get messages from them all the time. And for once, I'm getting positive messages from people congratulating me that feel good because they look up to the United States and look to us as an example. And they see what happened. And they see what happened in Georgia. And it makes them feel as good as it makes me feel. So that's a positive for me.
Right. Agreed 100%. And we have two foreigners that are on with us right now, Willow for Canada and Terry's from Ireland. And they seem very proud that we, have Biden in office right now. But I do want to put up this comment from Willow that I put up before, but I want people to say this. She says, I do know that a lot of progress for both Canada and the States happened because of the liberal agenda. That word was thrown at me in a comment a few days ago. All right, let me basically tell you about me. I'm a moderate liberal, okay? I'm a moderate Democrat, I should say, because liberals have been thrown out as a bad word, as an evil word, as, oh my God, you stinking liberals, you filthy liberals, you whatever. Sorry, guys, best economy that this country has ever had was under liberal administrations, okay? And you can say all you want about liberals, you should be thanking us, if anything. And of course, I'm being a little angry about it all, but the truth of the matter is I don't really think that Democrat and Republican, in my opinion, should be used as recognition terms. I do understand moderate, conservative, and liberal. Okay, moderate is middle of the road, and that's where I stand. You can't put me on the liberal side if you look at liberals as being, oh, we just want to give everything to everybody. We want to give away the farm and all this. You guys, you're blah, blah, blah. And you can't see conservatives as all you guys want to do is make money and get rich and don't care about anybody underprivileged or racial issues. You Republicans just don't care. No, I'm middle of the road, whatever that really means. But I guess if anything, I think with my brain first before I get emotional and talk within a mob of people, a like-minded mob of people. No, I'll be the one standing up on the chair basically saying, nope, guys, can't agree with you. So that's it. Garrett, you're going to say something.
Yeah, no, I actually love the way you describe that because in truth, there's an old quote, and I believe it's attributed to Winston Churchill, although I make no claim that I know where this came from exactly. It's sort of comical, and they say if you're 18, 19, 20 years old, if you're a young college student and you're not a liberal, then you got no heart. Because you should want to change the world. You should want to make it better. You should want to do everything you can, every experimental thing, everything you can try to want to change the world. When you reach a certain age and you're 35 or 40, and I'm 50. Mark's a little older than me, but not much. I just want to put that out there. He's a little bit, but if you're our age and you're not more conservative, then you got no brain. Because when you get to be our age, you are paying attention to what you're paying in taxes. You're paying attention to what that's being spent on. You're paying more attention to conserving what you have than making what the future will have. And there are people who fall in, that are just definitively liberal, progressive people who want to do better. And they stay that way their whole lives, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then there are people who grow up in a conservative environment, perhaps a business family. Perhaps they grow up with money. And their primary function will be to preserve what they have, to preserve the status quo. And that really is what conservatism and liberalism is all about. Liberalism is about wanting to make the world a better place, which we all do. And conservatism is wanting to do it without sacrificing what we have. So that's really where most of America, I think, just like Mark said, stands. We're moderates. We're moderate. We're in the middle. We can talk to each other. Mark can say, I want a chicken in every pot. And I can say, Mark, I do too. I want to know how we're going to pay for it. And then we debate. And Jim, you said it really great. One of the things that people have to understand about governance is government works best when it moves at the pace of an elephant with broken knees. Take your time and deliberate. That's what deliberate means, to deliberate. Take your time, debate, deliberate, and then act. Most of the time, governing is not about action. Government is about maintenance. It's about maintaining the lives of 350 million people. And it's imperative that as we maintain those lives, as we make some of them better, we're trying not to make others worse. And that's where the balance is. And that's where debate comes in. If somebody says all stoplights should be pink next week, well, damn it, we better debate about that. And if we can't come up with an idea that's going to make it work, then it's going to die in a political process, because governance lets a lot of ideas die because they don't serve the best interest of everybody. Slow and deliberate. But that frustrates people, because people, just like Mark said earlier, people want action. I want to see things happening. And that's what our last president promised. Action, action, action. Without ever understanding governance and consequence for action. You know what? I can agree that perhaps, the U.S. has done a fine job over the last 2 decades of leading the charge for global climate controls. On this, at the same time, Donald Trump wasn't wrong in saying that the rest of the world hasn't pulled their own weight. However, action, pulling us out of the climate accords without considering consequences and how that was going to affect our own environment, that's a mistake. Always action without consideration. And this is a person that did nothing but act without consideration. Today, I saw a president sworn in who is deliberate in his words, who deliberates, considers, welcomes debate, welcomes people to argue with him. He wants his Republican colleagues to argue with him and make a deal with him at the end. He wants that. He wants to debate and deliberate. And so that's what I was saying. I just wanted to say that's where people live, I think. They live in that moderate world where you and I are sitting in the center.
And that's how I pride myself. But for both of us, Jim, or for all three of us, Jim, Garrett, and myself, we're constantly surrounded. I live in Florida, okay, an incredibly red state. It's kind of hard for me not to go anywhere where there isn't someone yelling Trump, where I see a Trump flag on the back of somebody's pickup truck, where I walk and overhear conversations of, oh, he's going to bring in socialism, he's going to ruin this, my God, it's horrible. People still have the mentality that the election was stolen. I live in that kind of atmosphere in this state, and I'm from a blue state, okay? I'm from Maryland, okay? But since I moved down here, I knew what I was getting myself into moving down to the state in the first place. And it's very disheartening to know that people can't come middle of the road, that they themselves can't be a moderator. Not only that, is they can predict the future. Okay, when I'm around people that say, oh, you know what he's going to do. Oh, you know what's going to happen. Oh, my God, we're so screwed. How do you know this? What makes you think that? And if so, why don't you just wait and see, just to see if you yourself, is correct with that? And it just disheartened me. So my question to Jim, do you have extreme or extremist in the relationships that you are, whether in work every day, whether your family members, which is probably a good one I'd like to hear, Are you familiar with any extremists? Have you heard from any extremists within your family that is totally appalled by what's just happened?
Yes, absolutely. I had a family member tell me on Facebook, of course, not to my face, that I'm a demon worshiper, I'm anti-God, and I'm
You
a
raise
baby
children.
murderer
Uh-huh.
because I'm a Democrat. People that I work with, one of them is an immigrant and just got his green card, and he's constantly, telling me that now Biden's been elected, we're all going to go down the toilet, and the banks are going to crash, and the stock market's going to crash, and it's all my fault. And just the other day, Karen and Jamie and I, we were at Burger King, and this guy, we were throwing our garbage out, and we were talking about Trump and how good it was going to be to get rid of him. Had nothing to do with this guy. I don't even know this guy. He was just some dude that was there. Comes up and gets in my face about me being a traitor, and how can I say that about our president, blah, 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 blah. So I get that constantly up here, and it's something I don't understand, Mark, because I don't remember hearing that kind of talk during any election that I've ever voted for in my entire life. Clinton, Bush, Reagan, none of them have ever been as violent and as one-sided or as opinionated as this election with Trump and the last election with Trump. And it's something that I don't understand, because as Americans, we vote every 4 years. And if my guy wins, great. If my guy loses, oh well. I come back 4 years later and I vote again. Why has it turned into this violent, you're either with me or against me thing? I'm an American just like you, and I want what's best for this country just like you. And there's no right and there's no wrong. There's just what we agree to do as a people.
Right. And Garrett, I'll let you go in a minute, but I just want to add to this. I've never seen this much anger, this much stupidity in support of any president, not even during Obama's reign. Now, listen to what I'm telling you. Other than what the media has perpetrated as to, and these racists don't like Obama being in and blah, 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 this was to be expected. Have I ever heard it with my own ears? Have I ever seen it? No, not at all. Obama was one of those presidents where people were willing to give him a chance. Okay, it's only what I see on TV, okay, in terms of, the deniability of Obama, than I have heard in this red state. And it's but only when Trump came into play, people are going, you've heard everything that Trump said he would do, what he has done before he even was put into nomination. Okay, became the nominee. It's like, what were you guys thinking when he said all these things that he actually admitted to? Why did you bring him into office? And I go back to our original or our previous question, basically was because they thought this guy could drain the swamp. This guy could keep the immigrants out of the country. This guy, and you're talking all negative. It's like, okay, well, what about everything else? Go ahead, Garrett.
No, what you're talking about, I think, and I know our audience here will understand this when I say this. What you're talking about is that writers do this all the time. It's the great other. Create the great other and make that other a threat to you, whether it's an immigrant. Here in this room, we're science fiction fans. So how many times have we seen a writer create an amazing great other, the Borg, the Klingons, create a great other? And when you do that, you'll unite everybody against the great other. You won't unite everybody around one another. No, you'll reunite everybody against the great other. The great other is responsible for you not having the right job or the right educational opportunities or the right place to live. The great other is responsible for that. If you can make the great other responsible, then that takes responsibility off my shoulders. And then you tell me you're going to fight against the great other. And I go, oh, yay. And so that's what I think happened to a lot of people. And I want to personally apologize, not for any role to do with Trump, because I want to go on the record right here, right now, saying
you should apologize. It's your fault.
I am a Republican who did not ever vote for Donald Trump at any time. However, I do need to apologize as a political activist. And I think so do so many of my peers on the right and on the left. Because as activists, we're excited about politics. I used to tell people all the time, politics is the most exciting sport in America because number one, everybody can play. And number two, when the score is up, it affects every single human being you know. So it's the most exciting sport in America. However, thinking that and believing that and convincing my neighbors of that without informing my neighbors of the consequences of choosing a team, of choosing a side, of choosing a place in this political spectrum leads tons and tons of people who don't really follow politics. They follow the letter next to a person's name. So, Mark, I know you're a football fan. Who's your favorite team, Mark?
Ravens. What's wrong with you?
The Ravens. Okay.
There are
Who's
no
the
other
worst?
football teams.
Who's the worst player that ever graced the Ravens uniform?
Nobody. That's Tom Brady, and that's not
There-
Ravens
no,
uniform.
see, that's what I'm saying.
Facts straight.
Nobody. See, I can ask you the same thing. Now, I know our Jim Yeager, you're a Star Trek fan. Who's the worst Star Trek character ever invented? I mean, he shouldn't have even been invented.
Ferengi.
Okay, nobody, right? There's nobody.
Nobody,
There's
right.
good ones, there's bad ones, but there's nobody. And
Jar
see, that's
Jar
what it is.
Binks.
There you go. From the other guy's universe, right? Yeah.
Other
And
guy's team.
that's my point. That's what I want to send out to our audience is that you see activists like me went out and we told everybody how exciting and how dynamic and how important politics was and but we were selling it from our team. I wanted people I was talking to go register Republican. And my Democrat neighbors and my liberal neighbors, they wanted people they were talking to register Democrat. But we didn't really fill them in on how politics and governance works. We filled them in on join the team. And once they were on the team, now they got the big red R on their chest. They vote for anybody with a big red R next to their name. This is the wrong answer. I think Willow said it best in the chat a little bit earlier. She doesn't know a lot about stuff, so she votes for the person that she thinks is best for her area. That's what we should have been telling you to do way back in the day. We shouldn't have been telling you to join the team. Don't join a team. I'm telling you now, I've learned. I was 30 years old when I was in college. I was out there with a sign. I was out there with my friends and my neighbors and some of my college young people, and I was telling you, register to vote today. Register with my party. Get behind my guy. I'm telling you today, I'm 50 years old. It's 20 years later. I made a mistake. Don't register with a team. If you do register with a team, don't take the team logo seriously. I want you to study every candidate.
And that's
Get
important.
the one that speaks to you.
Yeah, that's important, even if you do register with a team, because I don't feel that there are enough independents out there to make a difference in any election, okay, unless they're adding to either or side. So if you join a team, I still want you to use basic common sense. Okay, I want you to listen, and as Willow had mentioned previously, she was talking about attack ads. And yes, it was never like that, Willow, in terms of attack ads. I think once one person does it, okay, another person has to reciprocate. So, and then it starts a chain reaction. Next thing you know, you're going to have it annually. If you use your brains, if you use your smart, and you just investigate whatever it is they're touting about the other guy, then you're well off. The attack ads wouldn't bother you because the attack ads do not bother me. I know for a fact that if I want to know if this is actually true about someone, I will search into the facts. I don't care if the attack ads are going on. Do your best.
Can I add something to your comment, Mark, real quick? I don't mean to interrupt. I just want to add this.
No, it's fine.
I want to add it because it's important to what you're saying. Okay. I want to say this out loud as a Republican. The media is not the enemy of the people.
Of course not.
In point of fact, everybody, far from it.
Yes.
The job of the media is to provide you with information. Now, if you're watching your news channel and you're watching it at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, then yes, you're going to get nothing but opinions. You're going to get great commentators giving you entertainment. They're going to entertain you with their opinions about life. If you're watching it through the day, if you're watching it in the morning or an evening when you get home during dinner, they're informing you. They're not entertaining you anymore. They're informing you. If you want to know if a journalist is telling you the truth, just the truth and not their opinion, listen to them cite their sources.
Yes.
If they cite someone that they're getting information from, then they're giving you a fact. This person thinks this. And if this person happens to be, say, a doctor, and they're talking about a disease, then that's a legitimate source. If this person is a congressman and they're talking about a vote, then this person is a source. Source the information. The media is not your enemy. The media is there to inform you and, unfortunately, with a 24-hour news cycle, entertain you. So the guys on Fox News, they have news during the day, in the morning, they have it in the evening. The guys on CNN, they have news. They have news all the time. Now, if you're watching at 9:30 at night and you're listening to Chris Cuomo, now Chris was a great journalist when he was on the road as a journalist. Right now, he's a great commentator. He's telling you what he thinks needs to happen. Don Lemon, one of my favorite guys at night. I love Don Lemon on CNN. The man makes me laugh so hard, and he makes me so angry some days. But you know what? He gets paid to anchor an hour in the middle of the night when he can talk about his opinions, not the news. The next morning, I'll get the actual news. So pay attention, people. Pay attention. When you see this picture says it all. We have a new president and a new vice president, and they're proud to be doing those jobs. This picture is worth 1,000 words, and it's sourced. We know where it came from. Okay? That's what news is all about. Inform yourselves, but don't go to some fringe website that will tell you what you want to hear, because they know exactly what they know exactly what you want to hear, because guys like me get paid to find out what you want to hear.
Okay.
Can I add something
yes,
to
and
that?
that's why I was going for you. Go ahead.
I think that the biggest difference, what Garrett's talking about, I think is a lot deeper with social media. I think that social media has really, really affected our political landscape and the way Americans think and what they consider to be news and fake news, because places like Facebook and Twitter will flood their feeds with stories like Hillary Clinton has a child sex pornography ring being run out of a pizza place in Washington. All these people believe it, and then somebody bursts into the pizza place and finds out, well, there's no child pornography ring here, just a guy making pizza.
Yeah. So, guys, by the way, we're not the news tonight. We're Mark and Garrett and Jim, and we're telling you what we think, but this is not the news. So if you came here to find out what's happening in the world, sorry, you're in the wrong place.
Hold on, Garrett. UFO, I swear. Okay, back to the news.
I love it. No, that's it. I mean, we could all say something really crazy right now. Let's go around. Best headline you could think of. Mark, what's the best headline you can give them right now?
I'm actually a girl.
I knew that already. Jim, how about you? Which best headline? Let's just throw it out there. Let's just clickbait the hell out of them.
My neighbor had a lizard baby.
I got nothing to go with that. Man, that was beautiful. That was absolute. I'm just, Sage is naked.
Oh,
it's not true.
Move camera.
I'm trying.
Yeah, move
See, nope,
camera.
not there.
Oh
not
my
there.
God,
Anyway.
it's a lie. And I believed you. Oh my God.
That's right. See, it's a lie. So, guys, this is Facebook. It's not the news.
Yeah.
And the news is not lying to you, trying to get you to come here to find out what the real news is. That's not the truth. Yeah. That is an absolute fake statement.
What we're basically asking you guys is just be responsible, whether you're watching attack ads, whether you're watching or hearing gossip from your coworkers or your neighbors. Take it with a grain of salt. Don't engage. Find out for yourself. You'll feel a lot better. You don't need to go back to those coworkers and say, well, guess what I found out, because you're just stirring the pot and making things worse for yourself. Just
However, if you are 65 or older, you can get your 5G chip at the nearest Publix.
Yeah, and I already did. I got a discount, okay, because it's in the neighborhood. But all right. Let's go on. I want to show you guys something. I got to figure out how to do this, Garrett. Stand by. I want you guys to watch this. Let me see if I can get this right. Whoops. Not yet. I want to stand by, guys. I'm trying to get this trying to get this working. Okay, hold on. I think I'm there. So let's do this here. I want you guys just watch this. And we haven't seen anything like this in 4 years. And I was really excited when I saw this clip. Let's see. It should be this one. Nope. Wrong one. Sorry, I had this geared up, but I have actually too many windows open up. Whoops. Let me close this out. Let's try.
My neighbor's lizard baby's howling at the moon.
A lizard baby that howls. That's the best ever.
You never heard of
That
lizard
is
baby
awesome.
howl? All right, let's try this. Okay, good. I can do this now. Now go here, then go here one more time, and you guys, oops, wrong way. Watch this.
God, she's so awesome.
That's a president, ladies and gentlemen. That's exactly how a president should be. How do I remove? There you go. And I'm excited about the upcoming year. We're coming up on our full hour that I promised us. Hanging with.
Willow says we win the Emmy. I think it's for those great clickbait headlines that we had.
Hold on, I have no idea how to stop screen. Anybody hear this?
No, we did not hear.
Got it. Okay, you're not hearing. Okay.
We saw. We didn't.
Hanging with Web wins Emmy. It's okay. Willow doesn't like me anyway, so that's all right. You get the Emmy there, Garrett. You had some great commentary. You both had some great commentary. I'm going to ask you one last question. And wait a minute. Before we did that, Kamala, you said you love her or something, Jim? Was that the comment I heard when you saw her up on the screen?
Oh, yeah. I got to tell you, Mark, I voted for her in the primaries. Up here in Vermont, you can vote in whatever primary you want. You don't have to be registered to any particular party.
Okay.
And everybody that I know was voting for Bernie. I voted for her. I love what she stands for. I love everything about her. I like her attitude. She's fresh. She's young. She's new. I'm totally impressed and blown away with her. And when Biden picked her for vice president, I was ecstatic. And to see her get sworn in and take that office, I am just ecstatically thrilled. I think she represents the future of America.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. I also think this young lady and this young man still represents the future of America.
Well, I'm not taking anything away from them.
Right. Yeah. And Michelle just basically knocked it out of the park with her outfit today. And this is a fashion segment.
Guy, I love this, by the way. Go, I want to show the outfits here. Beautiful, beautiful women across the board here. Now, Michelle Obama came in strong in that pink, which is awesome. Amazing outfit, with the exception that I think she had to borrow Elvis Presley's belt. Not sure if that was taken off of one of his old suits or what. Kamala's killing it in purple.
You are not the comic book fan that I thought you were. If you had no idea that this was a utility belt and she was ready for anything,
see, she was ready for action. I was not aware of that. See,
the X-Men belt.
The X-Men. That's one of the X-Men belt. That's awesome. Yeah. And Dr. Jill Biden, and just looking grace and poise and awesome. So. And they owned the red carpet at the Capitol today.
You know, I feel really embarrassed to the fact that we have these incredibly beautiful women on our side here in the Democratic side, have no background. They pose in no magazines or anything like that. They're clean. They represent what young American women should be, and they're
what they aspire to be. Truly, what young women aspire to be. It's amazing. Unfortunately, we have, again, over here on the dark side, as it is these days, we have some beautiful young ladies, and we have some powerful, intelligent women. And for some reason, They just spent 4 years letting someone tell them that he would do things that he shouldn't do.
Yeah,
And I don't know why that happened, because I have, as a member of my local Brevard executive committee, I have known some incredibly amazing, talented, smart, and powerful women who, if I had ever said some of the things that this man said, in the last 5 years, they would have smacked the teeth out of my mouth.
Yeah, in all honesty, though, I've voted across party lines, but I am incredibly disappointed in the Republican Party as a whole. And I'm speaking after 4 years of keeping my mouth shut. And basically, I am very disappointed and insulted. And I know that they can do better if they would just grow a spine. And during these last 4 years, they haven't. I'm not even convinced of anything that Mitch McConnell has said. I understand that he's on the ropes now. He definitely has no party to control.
And I think it's important for people to realize, in 1776, it was the American Revolution. Revolution. That's an important word, because it reminded us of what that is. It's turnover. It's revolving. And revolutions don't end. The 1776 revolution is continuing to this very day. The parties that we know today have been revolving around over and over again. I know that many of our older peers, Mark, our parents' generation, they remember what were called the Dixiecrats, the Southern Democrats, who were extremely conservative. They were more conservative than our furthest conservative Republican today. We remember the pre-Civil War Republicans, because we're called the Grand Old Party, but really our party has had at least two major turnovers in the way they look at the world. One was Teddy Roosevelt, one was Abraham Lincoln. So that's major changes in the way they looked at the world. So because our party dates back to Thomas Jefferson. So so you look at that and you go, okay, hey guys, it's a revolution. It hasn't ended. We're going to continue to revolve,
of course,
and to keep moving around and evolve with that. And I think the Republican Party today is slow in doing that. I think the Democrats have done a better job in the past decade and a half or 2 decades of evolving with the times. And
I still have faith in the Republican Party. We do need a yin and a yang. The balances, checks and balances, has to be in place, and especially when it comes to the political parties here. And we do need a strong adversary. Is too strong of a word. I can't think of another. Oh, I know, partner. We need strong partners on this side to run this country, because it's all about this country. It's all about America, the respect that we get from foreigners. And I've been around enough foreigners to know exactly how they think and how they feel about us over the eras, over the decades. I've heard all kinds of opinions from, Germans, French, Japanese, you name it. I've had talks with them in terms of how they view America. And it's very, very important for us to be the big brother. It really is very important. Otherwise, the rest of society in the world crumbles, shatters, goes to hell. And we really need to show these guys that even after this hiccup, we are still the leaders, of this world. And this is why we're the leaders of this world, because everybody else is looking up to us.
Can I add something to that,
yes,
Mark?
Please, Jim.
Please. I'm a second-generation American. My grandmother came from Scotland. My grandfather came from Ireland. They went to Ellis Island, moved to Brooklyn, New York, had my mother. My father moved up here. Here I am. So I'm a second-generation American, and I'm proud of my heritage completely. I think that the United States of America is the great melting pot. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations. It makes us stronger. It does not make us weaker. United we stand and divided we fall. We need to be united. Having said that, I think that our Republican and Democratic parties need to represent our population. We need people in our government. We need Kamala Harris there. She is so much more than just the vice president. She represents millions of people that feel like they have no representation in our government. We need more people there like her. We need more people that are not white old men. I don't want to sound
no, it's
discriminatory or anything, but
you're not.
I feel that we need more non-white old men in our government so that our government more represents the population of America.
Agreed.
And I don't care if they're Democrats, I don't care if they're Republicans, but we need that diversity if we're going to survive.
Right.
And
we do. We need to make sure that we can show the world what we look like, because eventually we need to work toward Dr. King's goal, where they can judge us by the content of our character. I don't care if you're an old white guy. I don't care if you're a young black woman. I don't care if you're Hispanic or whatever. If you are a person of character and you wish to serve, because that's what that's what the word senator means. Kamala Harris comes from the Senate. The word senator is Roman. It means to serve.
Right. I don't want all people of character in our government to be white. So I'm gonna push back on that a little bit, because sure, they have to be people of character, but you need to be discriminate about how you bring these.
Well, here's the thing. You and I have known enough people in our lives to know that not all white people have good character. Not all black people have good character. Not all immigrants are of good character. Not all native-born Americans, if there's such a thing, are of good character. If we limit ourselves to those of good character, then I promise you that limitation will yield diversity.
Well, and that's what I want, but I just don't want all white people in.
But that's just it. If we limit ourselves, if we limit ourselves to those of good character and conscience, then we will find that limitation has yielded a cornucopia of diversity.
We have done just that. If you look at the nominees for the cabinets, the people that have been chosen to represent this government actually represents the United States. So I'm assuming that Biden did choose people of character to hold those positions. So we just going to have to wait and see.
But I mean, you guys
I am confident. Hold on. I am confident enough to know that a lot of these people won't be quitting anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I really do. And guys got to understand something, guys. If you choose people from the content of their character, because they're experienced, because they're dedicated, because they have conscience, because they have empathy, and they have qualifications, then here's what's going to happen, guys. Occasionally, a couple of old white guys are going to slip through.
I'm watching.
And a couple of, that's going to happen because there are just a few guys of decent character out there. You know what, though? Just as many women are going to slip through, and just as many African Americans and Mexicans and Mesoamericans, etc.
Stop. That's Garrett. Anyway, I was just watching Tom Hanks right now because they're doing this Celebrate America that's on, and he's standing on the Lincoln Memorial, and behind him is the way the mall, literally the reflecting pool, is all lit up, and it's just phenomenal. And I have grew up in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area, spent many decades on the mall playing football a lot and visiting all the museums, and I am just so sad that I couldn't be there for this inauguration. Not even just the inauguration alone, but just to get back on the mall and to see the mall they dressed up. I am not sad whatsoever that there wasn't a couple 100,000 people that were on the mall for this. They made it look like there were 100,000 bodies there witnessing, and I'm sure there were more than that number of people watching this over the air, and that's fine. I'm very, very content with all of that. But other than that, I think this has been fine. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Garrett, for everybody who joined in. Any final notes you guys want to add to this before we sign off? I hope the people that are watching, especially our international people that have been watching here, has pretty much gotten the American view and the American opinion of what has happened today. Probably one of the most important days in all of modern history, if you ask me. Oh, God, I thought I heard a toilet flush.
Mark says hello, Karen.
Oh, my God.
You want to say hello to Mark? He can hear you.
Is she coming from the bathroom? Oh, my God. I feel like, speaking of Archie Bunker, Garrett, go ahead and lead off, buddy. Is there any final notes you wanna say to our crowd here?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm particularly proud today to be an American. I am once again proud to be a citizen of the world again, and so happy that we are moving forward in the spirit of productive discourse and respectfulness again. Mark and I, every time we talk about the importance of being respectful and being, having a bit of diplomatist in you, so that you consider what you say, the actions that the actions that your words cause, and the consequences for those actions, good or bad. And so that being said, I'm proud to be an American today. I'm proud of the great job that was done at the inauguration, and what it represented. So just guys, let's make 2021 the beginning of something really special, a rebirth, if you will, of what ties us together right here. These three people that are so different on this screen, what ties us together? Let's celebrate that.
I agree. Jim, you have any final words?
Well, that's a tough one to follow.
That's a tough one to follow. That's Garrett
But
for you.
that's
He
a
always
tough
hits
act
it
to
out of
follow.
the park.
But
Yeah.
I just, I want to say that, the healing begins with listening. And, I will listen to you. And all I ask from you in return is that you listen to me. And if everybody's listening, then I think a lot can get done. We don't want to turn off our ears and our minds to somebody just because we think they don't understand or we think they don't agree with us. We need to agree, we need to listen, and we need to consider the other side of the story, even if it's not the side that we're on. And that's how we're going to survive, and that's how we're going to get along.
All right, and for me, I'm probably the biggest patriot you'll ever meet. You guys don't know a lot about my background, but the fact that I grew up in an area where I'm always exposed to the way government works, the way people who work in government think, it has just emboldened me to be the patriot that I have been when I was old enough to vote for the very first time. Yes, I can be a little gruff. Yes, I can be a little negative about certain things, but there's always a reason behind it. It's because I know, this is not how a true American feels. It's not how a true American thinks. And I would like everyone to understand how government feels, and people who have been exposed, people who have the experience over the years to know exactly what you guys haven't seen or experienced yet. We would hope that, like Jim basically said, just listen. Okay, I come across a lot of people who think, they know everything that's going on and the reasons why. Excuse me. But if you just stop talking for a while and just listen, you'd pick up so much, and you'd learn so much, and you'll understand so much, because that's what happens with all of us. We're always learning each and every day, and we listen to what people say, and then we evaluate. We don't necessarily attack their reasonings or their thought process. We listen, and it's like, well, these are not people that we can't necessarily change, but I'm trying to understand why is it they think that way in the first place. So I know with this new party, I'm assuming it's going to be, broad and wide soon, called Trumpsters, have their reasonings for doing what they're doing. Of course, the protesters, the rioters, the terrorists, domestic terrorists, has no reason whatsoever, and deserve no respect from anyone. But people who are upset with the way things are being done, and this is the reason why this guy got into office in the first place, because they thought they had a solution with this guy. And well, the truth comes out in spades, and we saw that, okay, well, this didn't work. I'm kind of glad it happened, because it kind of revealed to folks that this is not the way things are done. This is not where we want to go. And now we have a do-over here. We have a chance to reunite and to try to heal people who are still very angry, because there's, half the population, almost half the voting population, that are really angry, that they didn't get their guy in. Well, 4 years ago, I was angry I didn't get my guy in, but I didn't take it to an extreme. Okay, I didn't charge our pedestal of democracy and storm it and basically say we're going to kill and hang our government officials because you're angry with your state who ratified votes, but you went straight to D.C. to stress that. So that's another angry part of history that I don't think we need to visit anytime soon until the trials come up. Then I'm really interested. But that's basically it. So I don't know what more we can say unless anybody else has anything they want to talk about. I'm wide open with any thoughts that come through your brain and broadcasting it this way.
No, it's a good day to be an American.
Yes, it is.
It's a good day to be an American. It's a great day to be on Earth. You know, I read a stat about a year ago, and I'll throw this out for both of you guys. You guys are going to like this.
Please.
The truth of the matter is, despite what we all think, despite what in the newsroom, we had a saying, if it bleeds, it leads. So bad news is always up front. It's always leading the story.
Right.
But despite all of that, there has never been, save this very moment that we're standing in right now, there has never been a time on Earth where there was less war. Even though there are horrible things happening, there's less war than ever before in any time on Earth. There has never been a time in human history when there was less hunger. With millions and millions of people hungry and starving around the world, we're still doing a better job feeding them than we were just 5 years ago, 5 minutes ago, 5 decades ago. It's getting better. There's never been a time greater in human history, more technology, greater inventiveness. Our kids, they piss me off, but they're learning things that I didn't even begin to learn until I was in college, and they're learning it in junior high because they have to. That's the world they live in. There's never been a better time to be a human being on planet Earth than there is right now.
Sure.
And if we proceed under the idea that our President Biden today challenged us with, which is to make tomorrow a day that we are in search of, as our Constitution tells us, a more perfect union.
Yep.
More perfect. Continuously working toward more perfect. If we can do that, then every day from here out to the day that Mark and I die, which is 100,000 years from now.
Good choice.
Okay. When that happens, I'll be able to say that same sentence again. There's never been a time in human history that was better to be a human being. So today is the best day that's ever existed. Can you make tomorrow better?
That's great. And I think on that note, we'll sign off. Jim, Garrett, thank you, buddies, so much. I'm going to go ahead and exit everyone, and then we will see a little bit more of what we did in the beginning. I asked my
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and First Lady of the United States, Donald J. Trump and Melania Trump.
So just a goodbye. We love you. We will be back in some form. So have a good life. We will see you soon. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We quiet ourselves and ground ourselves in the faithful love of God and the love that we
We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew. That even as we hurt, we hoped. That even as we tired, we tried. That we'll forever be tied together, victorious. Not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division.
I, Kamala Davy Harris, do solemnly swear
I, Joseph Robinette Biden Jr., do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution,
that I will faithfully execute
The office of President of the United States.
the office of President of the United
so
States.
help me God.
We face an attack on our democracy and on truth, a raging virus, growing inequity, the sting of systemic racism, a climate in crisis, America's role in the world. Any one of these would be enough to challenge us in profound ways. But the fact is, we face them all at once. I promise you, we will be judged, you and I, by how we resolve these cascading crises of our era. Will we meet our obligations and pass along a new and better world to our children? I believe we must. I'm sure you do as well. I believe we will.
Thank you, folks.